Second versus fifth, the best offense versus the best defense. Let's get into it. So before we get into it, some really exciting news. I talked about them on a previous video, but the bucket hats are in. And I specifically went for a larger bucket hat. Flip that lid up. So it'll keep your neck safe from the sun, because what I was finding out is when I was going to football training wearing hats and stuff and forgetting to put sunscreen on my neck would get burnt. This is the next best thing. It fits really, really nicely, very soft as well. These are available $40 on the merch store. And you can, get t-shirts. There's a couple of hoodies. I'm doing a run today, so get your orders in and I'll get those out for you ASAP. Best way to support the channel: become a member, subscribe on Instagram as well. $5 a month goes very far, trying to do this full time and stuff like that. So I really do appreciate all of your support. But now let's get into this preview. So like I mentioned, it is the best offense versus the best defense in the league. Now, if you do look at the ladder, you'll see that Gold Coast do have a better defense than us, but they also play one less game than us. So I'm not including that. We are the best defense in the league because we've played every single game so far. So this game is going to be astronomical, right? It's probably going to be one of the games of the season. You just have to look at the last few games where Collingwood and Adelaide have played. It's been within a goal the last 3 games. The last 10 games, we've just had the wood over Adelaide. 9 wins in a row, 1 draw. That's why I think that this game could go either way. Look, I'm not very superstitious. I'm just kind of stitious, right? So I think that, is something going to get corrected? Is what I'm trying to say. Is this, Adelaide's time to shine, or can Collingwood sort of, withstand that? Because Adelaide are one of the teams, or the premier team at the moment. I know they're 5th and they've lost a couple of games that they probably shouldn't have lost, but they look absolutely incredible from what they have been the last few years to what they are now. The players are just, the players that they've picked up have been insane, and we'll talk a little bit about those later and their sort of star players and what to look out for. But they are a very, very good outfit, and I dare say they are going to bat deep into September this year. Now, looking at last week, we'll just quickly touch on Collingwood. Beat Fremantle, went over, had 4 changes. Not really a backs against the wall. I know I said it was a backs against the wall performance, but it was more so that it was, going to the West, a 5-day turnaround. No team has won off a 5-day break this season except for us. Now, losing all of that experience, nearly 1,000 games worth of experience, and Fremantle were coming off a crazy bad loss against St Kilda, and we knew they were going to come out and sort of hit us hard with all the media scrutiny and stuff, and they did. We withstood that, and we were able to get the win and get a really nice win. Lots of standouts. Jack Crisp's best game in his whole entire career, according to Champion Data. Jamie Elliott kicked 6 goals, his equal best, which is the most goals kicked by a player under Craig McRae as well. And that was with Nick Daicos not having a good game. That's with Josh Daicos not having a good game. Steele Sidebottom having 7 touches. So it was just a really good game for a team where, people said we weren't taking it seriously, or this and that and this and that. And we go out there and we show that we can play to any sort of environment, any sort of condition. We will adapt. Now, Port Adelaide, the showdown was a really good game. I was watching that in between watching the other game that was on, which was Gold Coast Western Bulldogs, I think, which was another really good game. It was a really good round. Now, if you look at that game on paper, you go, oh, Port Adelaide won this game, if you don't see the scores, right? Because they absolutely smashed Adelaide in every single aspect of that game. The only thing, and that was kind of like what Fremantle did to Collingwood last week, the only thing was that Port Adelaide weren't efficient. I think they had over 60 inside 50s. They had nearly 60 clearances. And Adelaide were just more efficient going inside 50. And that's what we learned last week as well. Fremantle had a lot more inside 50s, a lot more clearances, but we were just more efficient in front of goal. And we always say, bad kicking is bad football. And those 2 games just go to show that. Yes, Adelaide only won by a few points in the end, and we only won by a few goals as well. But with the amount of inside 50s Port Adelaide and Fremantle had, they really should have won that. They just weren't efficient. So this game Collingwood Adelaide is going to be all about efficiency. And yes, oh, Luke, who can kick the most goals? That's who's going to win. Yeah, I know that, right? Obviously, that's how games are won. But what it is about is making the most of your chances. And Collingwood, typically, yes, we've been winning a lot of games and we've only lost 2 games, but typically, we haven't been making a lot of our chances. And that started to turn against Fremantle. We started taking a lot of our chances. But bad kicking, we've had that for so long. We should have been smashing teams out of the park this year, and we just weren't able to because bad kicking is bad football, and we've seen that over the last few years. Adelaide will absolutely make us pay if we don't, if we're not efficient going inside 50. So where will this game be sort of won and lost, right? Now, it is going to be a bit of a midfield battle. We know that Adelaide, Jordan Dawson is just having an incredible season. I think he's up there in the AFL Coach Association. I dare say he'll be up there in the Brownlow as well. Peatling that they got from the Giants had 12 tackles over the weekend. Jordan Dawson had 9 tackles over the weekend. But then you got guys like Raul had 23 disposals. Rory Laird, he's just going to keep doing what he's doing, 18 disposals. Didn't have that much of a good game. But Worrell, 700 metres gained, right? Peatling had 400 metres gained and 12 tackles. Keys as well. But where the game's going to be won and lost is if we can control their forward line. Now, Riley Thilthorpe had just not come out of nowhere. He's been, hard at the gym and he looks like a big boy. He kicked 3 goals last week. Probably could have had a little bit more. But Thilthorpe had 10 marks and a bunch of contested marks. And this guy is just making defenders look like just ragdolls. And not rumours, but, if Darcy Moore is 50-50 on whether he plays or not, we'll talk a little bit about that later, that's going to scare me. Thilthorpe could come out and kick 5 or 6 goals, right? It's going to take not only Billy Frampton or Jeremy Howe or Darcy Moore if he does play, it's going to take a whole team to beat him. And I'm talking about intercept defenders flying through, putting bodies on, because this guy is bound to kick minimum 3 goals, right? But then you got Thilthorpe, then you got Fogarty, then you've got Taylor Walker, but then you've got the other, Rankin's going to pop up, Keys is going to pop up, because Keys, they're forward line, and that's why they are the best offensive team in the league, because they can put a score on, and their attacks, or their attackers, are just absolutely incredible, and probably not really second to none in the competition at all. So our defenders are going to be on their game, but like Darcy Moore and Craig McRae and all these guys have been saying throughout the season, it's not just the defenders, it's a team defense. So to stop them from getting the ball and having all these marks inside 50 and all these inside 50s, our midfield has to step up. Our midfield can't let Jordan Dawson get off the line, can't let Peatling get off the line, can't let all these guys absolutely have the day that they're after. We've got to stop them from the middle, and then we can stop them in the defense, because you don't want, like what we did to let Fremantle do 60 or something inside 50s, because Thilthorpe, Fogarty, Rankin, all these guys are going to eat that up. So it's that team defense that's going to win us this game. Let's look at Collingwood for a second. What we did well last week was, obviously, we're saying, going inside 50 and being efficient inside 50. What we also did well without star players was winning that game, right? Because of that efficiency, because of that team defense, because of all that pressure, and Lockie Schultz, unfortunately won't be playing because of that concussion, but he was the guy that led it. Yes, Jamie Elliott kicked 6 goals. Yes, Bobby Hill kicked a bunch of goals as well, but that becomes from that midfield. Our midfielders will need to step up insanely, they'll need to step up. They'll need to take the next step up, because against Fremantle, I think Jack Crisp was the only player to get over 20 disposals for Collingwood against Fremantle. So Josh Daicos, Dan Houston needs a big game. Nick Daicos is definitely going to get tagged, so he needs to chop out of that tag. Yes, he was nursing some sort of pec injury and a hip injury or something like that. So he's going to need to, if he's good to go, he's going to need to step up. Darcy Cameron and probably Mason Cox against Riley O'Brien, who had another incredible game, will have their work cut out for them. So it's going to be a battle of the midfielders, and if we can see our midfielders improve from last week. Now, possible changes going into this game. So last week we made 4 changes. Obviously, we had Maynard come out, Jordan Goey come out, Majak come out, Scott Pendlebury come out, and Jeremy Howe, Ed Allen, Lockie Sullivan, and Oleg Markov came in. Now, there was sort of a debate if Charlie West debuts. Last week, he obviously didn't because he had a plantar fasciitis injury. Is there a chance that he debuts against Adelaide? There is definitely a chance that he debuts against Adelaide. Kicked 4 goals over the weekend. Could have kicked 5 or 6 as well. Will Hayes had a really good game. Do I see these guys debuting against a premier side like Adelaide? I want to see Charlie West debut at the MCG. I think he would be more inclined to debut him against North Melbourne, where you can rest those players, because Brody Mychek looked really good at training. The training's again on Wednesday, so we'll see what happens there. So Maynard, Mychek, Scott Pendlebury should all come back in. Jordan De Goey, I'm a little bit worried about because he didn't train on Monday, but neither did Lipinski, neither did Dan Houston, and there was a couple others that didn't train as well. But changes going into this game, so let's just say Maynard, Mychek, and Pendlebury play, those 3. You would think that Markov comes out for Braden Maynard, Lockie Sullivan will come out for Scott Pendlebury, Lockie Schultz comes out for Brody Mychek. So those would be the 3 that you would think. I would like to see Charlie West debut. I just can't see him debuting if Mychek is good to go, because you can't have Mychek, West, Membry, Cox, Cameron all in the same team at the moment. You probably could. Yeah, you probably... Look, I just don't want him a baptism of fire. I just don't want that as a baptism of fire. Ease them into the North game. Even bring in Will Hayes next week and Charlie West for the North game. Give him a double debutant go against North. So my big call and predictions. Interesting. Big call and predictions. I think this game is going to be just as close as the other, handful of games has been with Adelaide. I think Collingwood would win by 8 points. My big call though, I think Elliott will be on for another 4 or 5 this week. I just got a feeling that this is his year. Could be his first All-Australian year as well. He's equal 2nd or 3rd in the goal kicking as well. So I think Elliott is on for another 4 or 5. But my other big call is that Billy Frampton is going to keep Thilthorpe to 2 goals. I know Thilthorpe is good for 3, and he probably will be, but I reckon Frampton is going to keep him for 2, and then we can start having discussions of why Frampton is such a good defender now. And I know I was critical of him at the start of the year, but he has just proven me wrong, and I love that about football. I love that about my opinions and your opinions. We're constantly evolving, constantly changing, constantly getting proven wrong. I love to be proven wrong, right? I love to be proven wrong. So Frampton is proving me wrong. It is going to be an astronomically close game, I feel. It's going to be a great game. This is going to be a finals preview game. Let me know your thoughts down below. But until next time, like, comment, subscribe, tell your family, tell your friends, tell your pets. And until next time, double shaggers. I'll swoop you later.